top stories, government officials hopeful following COP28 meeting, Grenada Bar Association president to become a judge in Belize, and Texas top court rules against women's abortion. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Tuesday, December 12th, 2023. I'm Scotticia Hendrickson. Nationally, government officials are hopeful about the Conference of Parties' 28th meeting that wraps up in the United Arab Emirates on December 12th. Prime Minister Honorable Dr. Terence Drew said that there were a number of tangible gains from COP28, such as negotiations for geothermal production. Further afield, small island developing states were excited about the UAE's pledge over $58 million to the Loss and Damage Fund. Prime Minister Drew said COP28 was successful as the meeting that were had for and behalf of the Federation, and there is access to funding. Prime Minister Drew drove home the point of climate change directly impacting the health, including mental health of our people. The search is still on for teen Villiana Edwards. The 5'4" 15-year-old was last seen a week ago on Tuesday, December 5th at her residence in Lagreet. She has a light brown complexion. She has her hair plaited in singles and pulled up. The public is being asked to assist the police and should contact the nearest police station immediately. St. Kitts and Nevis health officials are now monitoring 185 laboratory-confirmed cases of dengue fever. According to a statement issued by the Ministry of Health on Monday, there are 47 in St. Kitts and 138 on Nevis. Den V2 and Den V3 are currently in circulation in the Federation. Aedes aegypti mosquitoes, which transmit dengue, can become infected with the virus after contracting it from Den V infected persons and shared with others in the same household and neighborhood. This would create a cluster. While appearing as a guest on ZIZ's The Edge program, Glenville leader, Deputy Chief Environmental Health Officer, took the opportunity to emphasize dengue fever prevention practices.
The best prevention is to alleviate the areas that are infested with the Aedes aegypti mosquito. So that is to eliminate the mosquito breeding sites and the laying of eggs, because these eggs can withstand desiccation for a whole year, which means if you get dry, the eggs can stay there until water comes again and proliferate themselves. So we need to control those sites first.
The health officer spoke of numerous places found to be breeding sites.
We have seen 81 premises being found to be breeding mosquitoes upon our visits within the various communities. So we just cannot look at the swamp area, we have to look at the household. We have also inspected all the businesses downtown to ensure that the breeding sites are minimized. But for the most part, the Aedes aegypti mosquito breeds around the household. So we need to concentrate our efforts more so around the household. Notwithstanding that, we are at the swamps doing what we can do, but it's a domestic mosquito that breathes in clean, stagnant water. So we are trying our very best to mitigate against the infection by concentrating our efforts in the urban areas around the household at this time and at the cannery landfill.
Symptoms usually begin 4 to 10 days after being bitten by a dengue-infected mosquito and include high fever, headaches, pain behind the eyes, muscle and joint pains, and skin rash. Persons who have chronic medical conditions and are persons who are experiencing dengue-like symptoms should see a doctor at the earliest. In regional news, a Grenadian is set to become the first citizen to be a judge in Belize. More in this GBN News report.
When attorney at law Derek Sylvester takes up his new appointment as a judge in Belize from January 8, 2024, He will be the first Grenadian to serve in that capacity there. Confirmation of his appointment came from King's Counsel Ruggles Ferguson. Sylvester is currently the president of the Grenada Bar Association, and his resignation will take effect from December 31st.
We at the Grenada Bar are very happy to see our colleague Derek Sylvester, the current president of the bar, elevated to the bench of Belize effective January 2024. He will be a High Court judge in Belize. In more recent time, Belize has been reaching out to other countries to fill judicial and other positions within the legal system there. And all of this is good for regional integration.
Mr. Sylvester has spent the last 22 years of his life in the legal profession, an area that has prepared him for his new role. He acquired additional experience serving as president of the Grenada Bar Association for the past 2 years. Ferguson described Sylvester as one who has that energy and commitment to finish what he starts.
Derek has several qualities that can drive his success on the bench. He's hardworking, full of energy, has great passion for the law, is disciplined and dedicated. And once he has set his sights on something, he makes it happen. As a young lawyer, he built his practice from scratch. More recently, he authored a book on his life, an early life of many challenges. And with perseverance, he has been able to overcome all the challenges.
Ferguson expressed confidence in Mr. Sylvester's ability to serve effectively in his new role.
I have no doubt that he will bring that energy and enthusiasm, that discipline, that dedication, that passion, that hard work to the bench and be a success.
Christelina John, GBN News.
Trinidad and Tobago government is building a Tier 4 data center to incorporate all government services in one as one of the measures to prevent cyber attacks. More in this TTT News report.
Minister of Digital Transformation Hassel Bakr says everything in the government involves the use of ICT, noting that their systems have become soft targets. He said the security component was not built at a time when the services were initially available. The minister assured that a plan is in place to treat with having vulnerable attacks.
To allow for the removal of a number of these standalone, independent, and as such more vulnerable systems that we have. A number of regional governments have also expressed the interest in having some of their data sit within the walls and confines of our data center.
But he said many cyber attacks also stem from individuals applying bad practices.
Chair, for example, if you happen to have credentials to log into the parliament, if we go into the dark web and look for it and search to see if you have your credentials there, it should not be. But we keep finding every time we go in active members of state with their credentials living in the dark web.
The minister also dismissed calls to implement a policy for victims of cyber attacks not to pay the ransom.
There are a number of countries that have them. It hasn't deterred anybody from doing anything with them. And the reason for that is that you believe then that the sole purpose for the attack is monetary, and that the money that is going to be transferred comes from the victim.
As for companies that undergo cyber attacks, he said a company must ensure disruption to customers is minimal, and as in the case of TSTT, communication is vital.
When you have breaches of that type, the type of communications that you're dealing with is almost similar to a disaster type thing. It's emergency type and crisis type communications that you have, and there are rules that surround that.
Minister Bakr said there is a need for updated legislation to cybersecurity, assuring that it will be looked at. Sonolala, TTT News.
Internationally, the Texas Supreme Court overturned a lower court's ruling that would have allowed a pregnant woman to get an emergency abortion under the medical exemption for the state's near-total abortion ban. More in this Reuters report.
The highest court in Texas has ruled against Kate Cox, a pregnant woman seeking an emergency abortion under the medical exception for the state's near-total abortion ban. The unanimous decision from the state Supreme Court on Monday came hours after lawyers for Cox said she would leave Texas to end her pregnancy and receive necessary care while the court considered the case. It had halted a lower court ruling that allowed the procedure after an appeal from the state's Attorney General Ken Paxton on Friday. On Monday, the top court said that Cox's doctor, Damla Carson, when seeking the lower court's authorization, quote, did not assert that Ms. Cox has a life-threatening physical condition or that, in Dr. Carson's reasonable medical judgment, an abortion is necessary.